guys, welcome back to my channel. My name is Kendall and this is Ken's Corner, and I'm so happy to have you here with me today. Today's video is going to be my reading wrap up for the month of January. I was very hesitant to do reading wrap ups, but with the way I play my TBR game, I thought it'd be cool to put the accountability of like the end of the month information in one video, especially seeing as I have to film my TBR game earlier in the month where I still have time to read, and then I can throw my points in there, but also so that I can yap a little bit about the books that I read in the month. If I look down, it's because I'm looking at my computer that's sitting technically right under you. I read 13 books in the month of January, which is just over 5,100 pages, like 5,104. Not that I'm actually counting those kind of things, it's just fun to look back and see. I had 8 4-star reads, 3 4.5-star but no 5-star reads, and my favorite book to come out of this month was Bonesmith. I might not have had a 5-star read, but I'm kind of picky when it comes to my 5 stars, almost too much so. So I feel like with how many books I read, and 8 of them being 4-star and 3 of them being 4.5-star, I feel like I had a good reading month. On top of that, I read some TBR vets, and I mean like 2022, early 2023 TBR vets. The first book to talk about was part of my TBR game TBR. I had a read it or toss it, and it pulled Love and Other Words by Christina Lauren. I decided to toss it. I sat down to read it. I had it in my hand, and I have absolutely no interest in reading this book, so I'm not going to make myself read it. I'm just going to go ahead and toss it. Yeah, so this didn't count toward any points for the month, but it did count as completed. The next book I want to talk about is Red City by Marie Lu. This was also part of my TBR game TBR, and I started reading it. I got a little over 50 pages in, and it's just not what I'm wanting. I do think that this is going to be a good book, and I do think that it's going to be one that I just truly have so much fun with. I did decide to DFN, I down for nailed it. This is not a hard DNF. Like, I will come back to this and I will try reading it again, and so it does count as completed on my TBR game, just doesn't give me any points. The next book that I'm going to talk about is Daddy Issues by Kate Goldbeck. I gave this book a 2.75 star. I didn't hate it, but I didn't like it. The premise of this book was so much fun. The execution of this book, not as much to me. Overall, there was so much potential for these two main characters, but in the end, it just kind of fell flat. They felt very one-dimensional to me, and the relationship definitely was a fell in lust, not a fell in love type of story, to the point that the love confession caught me off guard. Like, normally you can kind of see it coming, normally it makes sense. No. This love confession fully caught me off guard. Overall, this was a quick, lusty, fun time. It was nothing major. Like I said, I really liked the premise of the book. I did not like the execution of the book. So this did end up being 1 point though, because I bought it and read it. The next book I'm going to talk about is Rebound Control by Jodi Oliver. I read this through Kindle Unlimited, so it was 2 points. Overall, I really did like this book. I'm a sucker for found family and a gay hockey romance, and this was both. Also, with this being like the last book of the series, it was like book 5, I was so excited for Elliot's story, but it's not what I was expecting. So first off, I loved Hunter. I love the fact that he was a firefighter. I love the fact that he had his own demons to fight and he fought them, and his story was just beautiful. But I'm not sure I love the way that Elliot was portrayed. Elliot is this 28-year-old hockey player, like full adult, and I felt like he was very infantilized in the portrayal of his undiagnosed ADHD. I do think that this is a very important story because I feel like a lot of these symptoms are relatable in the fact that I related to some of them as someone who I got diagnosed in my 20s, but I just felt like there was a lot of ways that Elliot was infantilized that could give a little bit of a negative connotation to those with ADHD. And that didn't sit totally right with me, but that could be some people's experience, so who am I to say? Overall, I love Jodi Oliver's series. Like, I love her gay hockey romance series so much, and I'm very excited to read her. I think it's a spinoff. It might not be a spinoff. It might just be a whole new one. And Rebound Control, I gave it a 3.5. The next book I want to talk about technically was a December read because I ended up reading it faster than I expected to. I was thinking I would read most of it in the beginning stages of January, but I ended up finishing it on the 31st of December. But we have Leave Me Behind by K.M. Marinova. I was quite excited about this because I really do have a lot of fun with dark romances, and a dark military romance seemed like it'd be a lot of fun with that premise of being in the special forces. This just didn't hit like I was expecting it to because some of the points that made it, I don't know how to explain it because there are some books that I've read that are actually darker than this that I really enjoyed and had fun with. In this one, some of it was just, it just didn't hit for me. I gave it a generous 3.5 star. Now that I'm thinking about it, like, I think technically it's more on that 3-star range. This was part of my TBR. It was on my physical TBR going into 2026. 3 points for a physical TBR, 1 more point for the fact that it was part of my January TBR, 4 points for this book. Now we're getting into the 4-star reads. My first book of the year was First Time Caller by B.K. Borison, and I had so much fun with this book. So if you like Sleepless in Seattle, this book is for you. Lucy's growth through this, not just what she wanted, but what she deserved, but also the way that Maya was calling into this radio station to try to help Lucy because she thought her mom was lonely. I really did like Aiden. I liked the way the story progressed, and the tension in this book tensioned well. And then the love confession at the end, he did it right. He did it right, I do believe. I do wholeheartedly think this is my favorite book by B.K. Borison. This was a good start to the year. This book, not only did I love it, but it was part of my physical TBR going into 2026, and it was a TBR game pick, so another 4 points. Then another 4-star read was The Amalfi Curse by Sarah Penner. I did read this from the library, so it's a 2-point book. I really enjoyed the way, not only that this was written, but the back and forth between the POVs in the book, because you have technically 2 main POVs and then 1 you get in letters, but the multi-POV and the way it was jumping around with the timelines and the POVs was very reminiscent to Bury Our Bones. It was not a similar story at all. It was just the way the POVs were jumping, and I highly enjoyed that. But also the way that they were connected and the way that it came about that they were connected was just, it was just a cherry on top. The fact that it was set on the Amalfi Curse was a intriguing setting, plus the diving off the Amalfi Curse even more so, but mixed in with the magical witchcraft part of it and the unexplainable things that were happening in present day that were then tied back. It just, I highly enjoyed this. Again, 4-star and a 2-point book. Then I read Sin Bin by Chelsea Quarto, and if there's one thing about me, I love the DC hockey series that Chelsea Quarto has written, and this was no different. This one was following Brody, who is their coach, and Hannah, who is Grant's sister. It was just a fun, steamy time, but it was so much more than that because, one, not only it started out as a hookup interrupted by Riley's accident, it also was so much more than that because you had Hannah, who is a figure skater, but she is so burnt out, and you follow her journey of finding herself, how she wants to proceed, what she wants to do, and if she wants to come back. And it is just so well done. And then Brody as a love interest, yes. Apparently I'm always going to be a sucker for the coach's story. This is just another one that has a lot of found family to it because of the hockey team setting. So that was a Kindle Unlimited read, which means it was 2 points. And then we had another 4-star read. We have With Stars in Her Eyes by Andy Burke, and this was just a fun sapphic time. This book had some good depth to it because, one, both characters have some baggage, if you will. You get the religious trauma that Courtney is still trying to work through as a queer woman, but then you also have Thea, who is working through coming from a family of like her mom is like a Southern debutante type of situation. She is also from Alabama, so as a queer woman from Alabama, this one just hit. But then also the fact that Courtney, okay, so something happens at the very start of the book, and afterwards she flees to her best friend's bookstore in a little small town where she meets Thea. She's working in the bookstore, which is just, I love books about books in some form or fashion. And then also, it was very interesting to see migraine representation in the book because it was actually done well. It wasn't treated as if it was just a headache, which I feel like even now to this day, a lot of people have that misconception of migraines. And it's so much more than that. That makes it a headache versus a migraine, you know? This is a library book, so 2-point book. And then another 4-star read, I did a little bookstore scavenger hunt into which I bought The Things Gods Break by Abigail Owen, and I read it. And honestly, I liked this more than I liked the games gods play. And I'm kind of shocked about that, but I'm also glad that I ended up getting it and reading it because I was very tempted to just DNF the series and not continue. And now after reading this, I'm excited for the 3rd book in this trilogy. I hate when that happens because what if I would have just DNF'd it and I would not have had the fun that this was. In this book, Lyra is also going through trials, but in Tartarus. The way that it's done was just, I had so much fun with it. It's very bingeable. As an adult book, it does read a little bit YA in some of the writing and in some of the actions that Lyra does. One part that I just was not ready for that I adored was a father-like figure coming about, especially because of who it was. 4-star read. I'm very excited for the 3rd book in this series to come out later this year. I did buy it in the month and read it, so it was only 1 point, but hey, it's another point. And then we have another 4-star read. Like I said, I had 8 4-star reads, so we got a few more to go through. But Accomplice to the Villain by Hannah Nicole Mayer, and this, I don't know. Like, I don't have a whole lot to say about this one or the series as a whole. First off, this is book 3, so I can't talk too much about this book anyway. But the series as a whole, and this book is no exception, is just so fun and whimsical and just ridiculous in the best way. Evie and Tristan, they have my heart. These books have a little bit of stakes. Okay, you have cozy fantasy over here and you have high stakes fantasy over here. This one's somewhere in the middle, or like the series as a whole is somewhere in the middle because there are stakes to this. I have so much fun with these. I do recommend them. I have seen where people don't like this series. That's a you problem, my dude. I have fun. One of my favorite things though is the fact that, so Evie very much tries to be evil as the series goes on, but she makes me think of a very angry tiny kitten, and I love it so much. And the ending of this had me gobsmacked. I was stunned. This was on my physical TBR, ending 2025, so 3 points. And then I listened to Greta Gets the Girl. So it was from Kindle Unlimited, but I was able to get the audiobook through Audible from Kindle Unlimited, so I did listen to it, but it was a borrowed book. So 2 points. It was so good. Greta and Kaylee have my heart. I really liked Melissa Marr's writing, and so it started out with an anonymous hookup. Like, what are the odds that it happened to be the author and the editor of the book that we're following? And it was just such a sweet yet spicy time. The way that Kaylee is both literally and metaphorically running from and facing demons from her past throughout the book, and the growth to like stand her ground and be like, no, I'm not dealing with this anymore. And also the representation of someone struggling with intimacy after being assaulted. It's definitely an important book to help someone not feel so alone in what they're going through. Just like I said with Stars in Her Eyes, I love a book about books in any capacity. And then finally, my last 4-star read of the month, and my last read of the month, was An Honored Vow by Melissa Blair. And this is book 4 and the ending of a saga, so I can't talk too much about it. Okay, so the reason I put this off for so long is because I had seen some comments and criticisms where it just didn't live up to what that person was expecting, and I really should have taken that with a grain of salt because reading is subjective and it's a matter of opinion, and I should have just read the damn book because I didn't hate the way it ended. I kind of liked the way the series ended. The way that Damien was defeated was chef's kiss to me because it ended up saving two people, one of which I very much believed deserved to be saved, and then it also let someone else get some revenge. It was, I really had fun with it. I will say it did hit a little, this series does hit a little too close to home, because by this book, there is a purge happening based, there's a purge of the halflings happening, which is based on, I guess you could say, ethnicity, because this is a fantasy world with fantasy creatures. Halflings are, well, half human, half something else. And the purge was so swift and brutal that anyone with the amber blood of the halflings was a goner. Like, and that's so reminiscent of what's happening right now, where someone's nationality or ethnicity puts them on the chopping block thanks to Oompa Loompa right now. Like, it hit a little close to home, and at least in this one, the evil was defeated, and they were able to live happily ever after in the end. But that's all I'm gonna say on that, because it takes so much to get there. This was also a library book, so 2 points. Alright, so now my 4.5-star reads. Alright, so first we have The Second Death of Locke by V.L. Bovalino. This has the hype it has for a reason. In my opinion, it is well deserved. This was a 4.5, not a 5-star read for me, because the ending definitely was very convoluted and rushed, where I think we could have spared some of the quests side of the story and expanded a little bit more, taken a little bit more time with the ending of the book. That doesn't mean that I did not like this book. I had so much fun, especially, well, not even especially with the quest. Like, I had fun throughout the whole thing. The quest side of the story was just so much fun, because you got to see the absolute yearning between Gray and Kier, especially from Gray's side, because the whole book is from Gray's perspective. With them being in the midst of a war, you're able to see, like, what they are willing to sacrifice or what's not worth risk and are better kept as a secret. But especially because, like, one of the key secrets between them could be so dangerous, because Gray is not just an ordinary well. Like, that's all I'm gonna say. Even though the synopsis says more, that's all I'm gonna say about it. This would have been a 5-star read if we would have gotten a little bit more fleshing out of the last, like, I would say the last third of the book, because so much happened in that third that could have been, like, it could have been the last half and the first half been the quest, you know? Overall, highly recommend. It was so much fun. This was part of my TBR, so I get an extra point for completing that, and it was on my physical TBR going into 2026, so 4-point total. And then we have a TBR vet. I have owned this book for so long, and after reading it and how much fun I had with this, I'm so mad that it took me so long to read it. Before I say anything else, if you have not read A Love Song for Ricky Wilde by Tia Williams, please go read it. Please go read it. It is so good. First off, I'm not big for magical realism, so that's part of the reason why I had put this off for so long. I really couldn't tell you why it's not a 5-star read, other than the fact that it just did, while I was reading it, it didn't give me that feeling, you know, you just kind of get. But no, while reading this, one could say it was a wild ride. Pun intended. I loved the way this story went about. So you start out with two POVs until they converge. The way that Tia Williams incorporated some of the very ghastly things that happened in American history. Ezra's backstory got me. But then you also have Ricky, who she feels like an utter outcast in her family and in life in general. So her growth of finding not only herself, but people who love her for her is absolutely stunning. The way she stands up to her sisters, stunning. The love story between her and Ezra, beautiful. The side characters that is Tuesday and Miss Della, beautiful. The way everything came together in the end, like, it was so well done. While I did see part of the ending coming, definitely still pulled some tears from me. So this was a read it or toss it. So it was on my TBR game TBR, and it was on my physical TBR well before the start of 2026. So another 4-point book. And then lastly, another TBR veteran. I read Bonesmith by Nikki Palpretto, and again, I'm so mad at the fact that this one took me so long to read. I did annotate this one. Part of that is because it is for the buddy read that I have with my best friend Mel. This was not a 5-star read for me, but it's like a personal thing, not a book thing, because while reading this, there are some points that I'm like, oop, yep, that's a YA book. It's not the book's fault. Like, it is a YA book. But because of that, I did give it a 4.5 out of 5 star. Or the way that Rin was so prideful, and some of the decisions that she made definitely read YA, which is the point. But also, like, it shows her growth because by the end, she's not making such rash decisions. But the absolute adventure and budding relationship between Rin and Julian, especially when they're supposed to hate each other, the truths that they discover along the way is just so imaginative. Magic system, yes, is based in necromancy, but it's unlike anything I've really seen before. The world and environment was just something, it was like a lot of fantasies, but also very different from a lot of fantasies too. Now, the ending, a few points I saw coming, but then some other points had me gobsmacked, jaw on the floor, because I did not see them coming. This was a physical TBR coming into 2026, so 3 points, plus it was on my TBR game TBR, so that was another point, so it's another 4-point book. So with that being said, the TBR game and the points from it, first off, the completed TBR from the game left me with 20 points because I had 5 physical reads. They were all physical TBR reads coming into 2026. So that's 3 points each plus another 5. Each book got an extra point for being completed on my TBR game TBR. Then the non-TBR game books read got me 17 points because I had 2 books that were bought and read for a point each. I had 6 borrowed books, so Kindle Unlimited or the library, for 2 points each. And then 1 physical TBR read that was worth 3 points. So a total of 17 points. And then the bonus of completing my TBR game TBR was an extra 20 points. So that left me with 57 points total. So I do want to preface those are going to be like recreational buys, if you will. So if I have a gift card or the book is a gift, it obviously does not count. The other stipulation is the fact that if I buy a book strictly for a video, like I buy it and read it within that month for a video, like I go and get it for the video, even if it's an anticipated or new release or whatever, if I buy it and get it for the video, it does not count against my book spot. That's kind of my stipulations, because with me trying to do this, it would be kind of hard for me to do like anticipated reads or anticipated releases and stuff like that and have to worry about my points. I did want to throw that out there before I started going through this so that I didn't just pop up in like March and be like, yeah, so I bought all these books, but only these count against. You know what I mean? Like, I wanted to go ahead and preface that. That being said, these first 3 books I did get from gift cards that I got for Christmas. This was also a double whammy because I bought it strictly for a video. And then we have Daddy Issues by Kate Goldbeck. I've already read it, and it was bought with a gift card. So, and then the last book that I got with my Christmas gift cards, I've got Savage Blooms by S.T. Gibson. And then these are the 2 books that are going to count against my points because they are recreational buys, if you will. So we've got The Bone Season by Samantha Shannon. And then lastly, and literally my first book purchase of 2026, we have Dungeon Crawler Carl by Matt Dinneman. That being said, we have a hardback, which is 25 points, and we have a paperback, which is 15 points. So a total of 40 points used in the month of January. I'm going into February with 17 points. With that though, that is the end of this video. If you're still here, let me know if you've read any of these books, you want to read any of these books, you have any books that I should put on my radar, you know, all the things. Like, if you have books that you're excited for, let me know. What are you reading going into February? What did you read in January? All the questions I want to know. Let's talk about it down below. Also, I'm going to put it in the description, but I did create a Discord so that we can have a little bit more conversation around books and bookish things and just life, depending on what's going on. Without further ado, that's the end of this video. I hope you have a wonderful morning, evening, or night whenever you're watching this video. Have a great day on purpose. Be kind to everyone. Emphasis on every. And happy reading. Bye, guys.